Bradford. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Attorney Cook, we'll start with you, sir. Civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump now represents the Locke family and said, quote, like the case
Yes,
of
I can.
Breonna Taylor, the tragic killing of Amir Locke shows a pattern of no-knock warrants having deadly consequences for Black Americans. Attorney Cook, should no-knock warrants be banned across on a federal level?
Yeah, here's the thing. Just talking about this particular situation, city of Minneapolis had actually enacted a policy in August of 2020 to limit no-knock warrants to specific cases, right? And to make sure that the officers are mindful of specific situations such as, hostage crisis, that type of thing. But they have to be mindful of any circumstances which prevent compliance. And so they had that. However, despite that, this killing happened. And to really just hone in on your question, should they be limited at federal level? Yeah, they should adopt these same policies that were enacted by the city of Minneapolis, but they should also follow the policy so that this type of thing, what happened to Mr. Locke, does not happen.
All right, well, briefly explain what those new policies consisted of.
Right. So they want to keep the officers from being able to just burst into your house, basically, is what it comes down to, right? So they want to limit the times when you burst into the house to hostage situations and other sort of exigent circumstances situations. But also, again, like I was saying before, they have to be mindful of any kind of circumstances which prevent people from complying with the no-knock warrant service, such as they talked about obstacles that might be in the way, like the ability, mental health, inability to hear. And then, sleeping should be taken into account, because if you watch the video, he was sleeping, and albeit he was sleeping with a gun, but that doesn't warrant his death. And also, another thing I want to make sure people understand, just because someone has a prior criminal record, he was not on the warrant. That does not make it okay to kill him.
Yeah, so I want to go to Detective Stratford. Thank you for that, Attorney Cook. There were two types of search warrants, right? Can you explain both and how both can still end up being served as a no-knock warrant at the end of the day?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay. So, just to be clear, it's never okay for someone to die at the end of a police attempt to apprehend someone, but sometimes the extenuating circumstances don't allow you to make a split-second decision. So a no-knock warrant is usually issued, especially here in New York. I was an NYPD homicide detective for 26 years with 38 years of service, but we would extensively try and determine who is in that apartment before we went into that apartment. We would go to the management, and I saw from the video that those police officers in Minneapolis had a key. We would go to the management, we would get the layout of the apartment, we would find out who is supposed to be in that apartment. And also too, which is normally provided to the police, if possible, they usually have information that the suspect they're looking to apprehend is in that apartment or is a resident of that apartment, or they can expect him to be there. But we also go through great lengths to determine who else might be in that apartment, innocent people. And then we, the reason that you go in there very quickly and announce yourself is so that everyone in there has an opportunity to realize it's the police and not a home invasion. Unfortunately, things do happen, and it happens in a split second. But, most police departments, I would say 99%, go through a lot of training to avoid things like this. We don't even normally allow regular officers like patrol to do it. We get special tactical teams to enter into these apartments. But again, we don't want to take a life. And those officers, who enter into an apartment like that don't want to be hurt themselves. And they have a split second to make a decision when they see a gun.
All right, well, let's talk about that, Detective Stratford, because not all officers are monolithic, right? You mentioned that everyone is different. So, but as you also mentioned, there is training. So how would you have handled that situation?
same thing. I would have information, as much information that's available to me, about who resides in an apartment or who might be in there that is not a resident of that apartment.
So the
But
way they carried out that warrant, you wouldn't have done anything differently. They were
no, I wouldn't have
justified.
done anything differently.
Okay.
Excuse me? I didn't hear you.
I was saying, based on what you saw, that shooting was justified?
I'm not going to Monday morning quarterback. There's circumstances that are inherent to doing a warrant like that makes it, hey, you're going to be liable. You shoot someone as a police officer, you have to answer for that. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not in a jury, so I'm not going to say justified or not, but I can tell you that you have a split second to make a decision whether you are going to disarm the person, how, either lethally or non-lethally, but, unless you've ever had a gun pointed at you, you just can't, from looking at a video, decide what you will and will not do.
Absolutely. I want to show
And
a
Lieutenant,
freeze frame.
I would say,
Oh, go ahead, Attorney Cook.
yeah, I mean, look, you guys are trained. You're trained on post, and specifically, you're trained on the Graham versus Connors standard, where you have to act as a reasonable police officer would in a particular situation. And again, based on the video, we only see part of the video. And by the way, I want to say, if someone is serving a no-knock warrant, I want to see this gentleman coming in, right? Like I'm going to have an aversion to like several white police officers bursting into my apartment because I'm thinking, death penalty. I think that this guy would be more cognizant of the overall bigger picture. Okay, so that's number one. But number two, the officers are trained. They're trained extensively. You guys are required to go through post training, and you even learn a little bit about the law. And recently, all of the departments have been taught that you time, distance, and consideration of all those factors. So I get it that the officer says you can't Monday morning quarterback, but we got to be cognizant of the fact that these things seem to happen disproportionately to black men, and it could happen to me, and it could happen to you, officer. I've defended officers who were, beaten up by their own department, beaten up, tased, arrested, that type of thing. So,
Detective
just want to throw
Stafford,
that
did you
in
want
there.
to respond?
Yes, I do. So, and I appreciate you wanting to have me be that guy to come in there. But as I'm a detective, not a lieutenant, but as a seasoned person, you have to depend on the guys that are in your team, in your stack, was what it's called. And I can't be worried about what nationality he is. He's protecting me, I'm protecting him. And as far as the person that we're looking to apprehend, what? I've done Caucasians, I've done Asians, I've done blacks, I've done everybody. And your person has to be aware of as much as you can of what's going on. And when you get into that apartment, things change. And I don't want to say, well, this happened, that happened, what if? But we just had a detective shot on a search warrant in Staten Island last week. He went through, and a person who wasn't even supposed to be in the apartment, he was not even the subject of the warrant, shot the police when they came in with an illegal gun that he had. The person who they went there to get, they did arrest him also and recovered the gun that he had. But he gave up. He didn't resist. He heard them. Police, 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 hands up, don't move. The other guy shot through the door, and he shot the officer. He lived. They were able to apprehend him. But it's just, you just never know what is going to happen when you go through that door. So your blood pressure's up, your adrenaline's flowing, but you have to try and maintain firearms control as best you can. But when things spiral out of control, we're human. You make a decision, just like the guy, any person who knows that the police are coming for them, they make a decision. Am I going to give up, or am I going to go out in a blaze of glory? And we all hope that everybody decides, you know what, I'll fight this battle in court and not from a hospital bed.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining
when
me
you
for
look
this
at the overall
conversation.
picture,
We appreciate you all. We don't have enough time, unfortunately, but I look forward to welcoming the gentleman back.